Well, hello everybody. Happy Monday. It's the eve of Easter. So I'm Brian Galicia. I lead our global ISV business for business applications, and it's my honor and pleasure to introduce Annata, Brad, and Nick from the organization, and we're going to have a lovely conversation like we do every Monday at 8 o'clock. So before we start, as I like to do, I want to just kind of get, before I start an introduction with Brad and Nick, want to get an idea as to where people are watching from around the world. Hopefully everyone is still staying safe. I'm hoping that over time, hopefully by the end of the year, some will be back to normal, but this is an opportunity for you to share where you're watching from. And so in the comments section of LinkedIn, if you can just type in where you're watching from, I'll actually potentially put you up on the live stream to thank you for participating live today. And then also utilize one of the engagement icons at the bottom, like, celebrate, whatever option you're willing to share. That gives me an opportunity to understand, hey, what is something that may be resonating with people watching this live. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce Brad and Nick from Annata, and have each of you just give a little bit of background about yourself. What do you do at Annata? And again, the background of your professional experience. And then I'm going to ask you the question, if you can answer the question, what's one thing that's not on your LinkedIn profile that you'd like to share with the broad world of people that may not know either of you? So go ahead, Brad.
Well, good morning. I'm Brad Blaskavitch. I'm the Vice President of Annata for the Americas, and responsible for sales and delivery throughout Canada, US, and Latin America. So I've been with Annata for just in my 8th year, and helped build out our large presence here in the Americas. In terms of one thing people don't know about me, fundamentally, if I'm not working, I'd rather be working on with my hands, either on a motorcycle or some sort of a renovation project. You know, my spouse, she always jokes that I can't drive past a house and not buy it, but you know, that's what we like to do in our spare time, either be out on a motorcycle or some sort of hands-on renovation.
Love it, Brad. So before I go to Nick, what's your favorite bike? Are you working on a bike right now? Are you doing some type of house renovation in your home?
Well, we're moving in 2 weeks into a new project. So that's the big change. In terms of bikes, this is a year where I probably won't switch bikes or buy a project bike, but right now I'm riding a Japanese. I always find I get more smiles for the miles when it's Japanese.
Yeah, I can imagine. Geez, I mean, I'm sure you go super quick, especially when the weather gets better. It's it's almost the riding season again when it's nice and sunny and warm.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's great. So Nick, we'll pass it over to you.
So just as a quick contrast, I'm quite happy to drive past every house without buying them. Thanks, Brian. Nick Campbell. I'm based in Dallas. I've been with Annata almost 2.5 years. And before that, I've got probably more years than I care to count with a variety of both technology firms and software development firms, and particularly the last many years with application software. Been in the Microsoft channel now for, I think, close to 11 years. So very much enjoy this kind of interaction with our Microsoft teams and our prospective customers. I think if there's one thing that isn't on my LinkedIn profile, and probably shouldn't be because it will get me into trouble, I'm raised in the north of England, in Manchester. And for any of you that follow Premier League soccer, you'll know that's one of the biggest potential conflagrations in the sport. So when somebody finds out you're from Manchester, you have to declare yourself red or blue. And I am most definitely a dark shade of red. So that's my one thing.
No, I appreciate that, Nick. Yeah, of course, you can imagine a lot of our partner network and Microsoft employees. Many are from the wonderful country of England. And I know that there are several people that I know that are actually Liverpool fans. I don't take a side. I'm not a huge, to be transparent.
I don't hold it against them.
Yeah,
that's all. Well, I do actually, but that's another story.
That's right. Well, so let's get started, both Brad and Nick. So give me a little bit of a sense. Of course, I know what you guys do. I mean, you're such a great global partner managed at a global level within our global team. but just give a sense for the people watching who may not have ever heard of Annata before. What does Annata do? What are the outcomes that your organization helps to deliver, that we deliver together jointly to our end customers?
Sure, absolutely. So, first of all, people are surprised to hear that Annata is 20 years old. And, we originally founded out of Iceland. We've only ever developed on the Microsoft platforms and technologies. But essentially, we describe ourselves as going to market in three segments. We got on-road vehicles, whether it's manufacturers, dealers, importers, distributors. Off-road vehicles, whether it's boats, construction, agricultural equipment. And then the one thing that a lot of people don't know about Annata is our medical device practice. So, which we've actually broken out in its own division this year called JivaMed. But essentially, if it's a highly configurable asset that has a life cycle to be managed, that's what Annata does.
Yeah, no, thanks, Brad. Anything you want to add to that, Nick?
No, I think the one thing that I saw when I first met Annata and has proven to be true ever since is the very pleasing knowledge and awareness that we have very broadly within the Microsoft community. And it never fails for me to ask if somebody has heard of or worked with Annata, and again, pleasingly, the response to that is very frequently, "Oh yes, you guys do great work." So that's a great affirmation and compliment that we take graciously every time we hear it.
No, I appreciate that, Nick. And one thing, I'm going to flash up a person. So thanks, Gordon, for making. So you have a fan. Someone's red too. I'm sure we're going to get the other side.
Well, that's two of us, Gordon. We're ahead.
Yeah, that's right. You are ahead. We'll see if we can get an equalizer as we continue with the dialogue. So let's talk about, because of course, that's a good reminder, Brad. I had no idea. I even forgot myself, like, oh my gosh, it's been 20 plus years that had not been in business. And I'm sure that journey with Microsoft, that's a good lead into the journey with Microsoft and the ecosystem. So give us a sense for, within that journey, for as long as I've been in our BizApps team, granted, I've only been in our global ISV business for about 1.5 years, but been in Dynamics for many, 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 many years. Back in the, kind of shameful to say, back in even the Dynamics 3.0 days, even before we had a cloud offering. So what has that journey been like, especially now that, of course, we have a formalized ISV program, ISV Connect, and what has that journey been like for Brad and you, Nick, in being part of the Microsoft ecosystem?
Well, if we look at it from kind of the markets, we'll focus on automotive for today, obviously. But if you look at some of the challenges that exist in the market today for either traditional OEMs, as they're trying to get to electrification. They're latecomers. They've got challenges with their dealer models, which can be both an advantage and a disadvantage as they try to change. They're striving for different business models, whether it's subscriptions or car sharing, and the role of the dealer is changing so substantially. And when you look at how what Annata brings from an industry depth and capability and innovation combined on the Microsoft platforms that exist today, and if you look back, even 8 years ago, when we were talking with customers, it was a lot of conversation about still best of breed. Now our customers can get that innovation solely within Microsoft, whether it's the Power Platform that they can take advantage of, and we certainly deliver capabilities on for analytics, automation, low-code apps, or what we can do with the Dataverse in general, with a common data model, help them engage more with their customers. It's changed so much even in the last 18 months, both with how we work with our customers, what Microsoft brings to the table, and then how we can stay so connected to Microsoft with the ISV program. It's just substantial in what we can do. And if you think about all the advantages that brings to our customers, now that we can take advantage of the one version program. So, where historically a lot of our research and development dollars would have been across multiple versions of software you're trying to support. Now all of that goes into innovation on a single platform, single version. So it's just a substantial change that's happened over time, and what we can bring to our customers significant.
No, thanks, Brad. Nick, anything you'd like to add to that commentary?
Well, yeah, and we hear it every day. The focus that we have on the equipment and automotive industries, now the medical device sector, and the expertise that we bring to that, particularly with the startup companies who are literally starting up and really need and are looking for not just technology, but the means of implementing that with industry-specific awareness. And almost, as we call them, industry accelerators, to get them to where they need to be from both financial reporting and preparing for manufacturing and sales and after sales service, the holisticness, if that's such a word, of the platform, and coupled with the industry expertise over, as Brad said, almost 20 years, really resonates with people. And we hear that, as I said, over and over again.
That's great. Thanks, Nick. And I'd be happy to know that even your CEO is a plus red as well. So now you're up to 2-0.
We're way ahead. That's usually the way.
That's right. That's right. So thanks, Johan. So for those of you who don't know, he is the CEO of Annata, and I appreciate him joining for this conversation this morning virtually. So let's talk about Brad and Nick. I mean, everything you just described about the environment you're positioning this value in, and with the assets that many manufacturers have, and that journey. Describe the outcomes of success. I mean, on the experiences that you've had, and for people watching and who may be watching, going, "Gosh, well, I'm a manufacturer. I have assets." Like, give a description of kind of that journey that organizations have had with the outcomes that we jointly deliver to get them to make it to be more efficient, and to not only save costs, but to also drive better revenue streams based upon more efficiencies in what they're doing. So if you go, and both you and Nick can go through that kind of the customer journey. What are some of the outcomes that are stories and outcomes that we've helped to jointly deliver together to customers around the world?
Yeah, so I'll let Nick talk a little bit about our work that we're doing a lot in zero emissions, more with kind of greenfield players. But fundamentally, when you look at the work we're doing and the changes that are happening in the markets that we serve, especially the last 12 months, you're seeing OEMs want to engage so much more with the consumer. We're seeing OEMs try to bypass the dealer model. Which is putting pressure on the dealers to reinvent themselves. It's putting pressure on the OEMs to figure out how to engage effectively with the consumer and sell direct to the consumer. And part of that is driven by what is happening in zero emissions, which I think has put pressure on it, whether you talk about the Tesla business model that maybe has kind of innovated in this way. But Nick, certainly we're living it every day.
We are, and I'm not sure about the rest of the world, but I think in the US and Canada and South America, we're probably engaging with 2 or 3 new startup companies in the zero emission vehicle space literally every week. And they're at all phases of development. Some of them are newly public, some of them are purely startup and pre-revenue, and many of them are somewhere in the middle of that spectrum. But I think for all of them, the real imperatives are to get a core set of financial and accounting capabilities up and running. Not the least, if you're going to be public, you need to demonstrate that to your investors. And I think that's a large impetus to engaging with these firms. And in terms of outcomes, we've been very successful at delivering that core foundational technology very quickly, within a matter of months, which is unheard of in many traditional senses. But because we're dealing with greenfield technology with our customers, we're acting as a partner to specifically help them with the process and technology assessment and simulation that's key to ultimately their goal of selling vehicles, selling devices.
No, that's great, Nick and Brad. It's interesting because I drive an Audi myself, And I saw that because I think it's Volkswagen or Audi. There's a congregation of all these different organizations, and they actually, I don't know if this is true or not, but I read over a couple of days ago that they are now stopping the development of internal combustible engines. And so that is a huge, I mean, you think about that market and them doing that and the transformation they're doing, to your point, of a Tesla or all these electric non-emission vehicles. And when you see that, what types of things that then does it spark in the outcomes that, again, if you were going after them, I'm not sure if that's even in our pipeline, but imagining that, gosh, when they say that, and everything that you and Nick and Brad, you described, like what would that mean for other people, other manufacturers, maybe not as big as Audi or Volkswagen, but other people who are trying to achieve that zero emissions scenario and the outcomes you deliver with this asset management and delivering that? What are some of your background or thoughts on when you see that thing happening and a transformation occurring in the industry?
No, it's certainly putting pressure on other traditional automotive manufacturers to make bigger, bolder bets on electrification. You know, Volkswagen certainly is leading that from kind of more traditional automotive makers. But I think it validates a lot of these startups, and certainly it continues to put pressure on the dealer. If you think about the amount of connected vehicle information that comes out of vehicles today, whether it's passenger vehicles or commercial vehicles, you know, the opportunity that is abound, but you have to get some of these dealers and the OEM aligned on how to improve the customer experience. So I think that's the opportunity that it creates. It validates both the new startups, and it creates a lot of new opportunity for how you service the customer, whether it's predictive analytics that drive better maintenance and preventative maintenance. There's just a ton of opportunity, and you can do that across entirely with the Microsoft stack and platform now, to harness that data, visualize it, action it. It's pretty considerable.
That's great. Nick, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I read a statistic over the weekend, I think from Reuters, that there are 200 startup electric vehicle firms in China alone. So if you think about the mass of these companies that are bringing new technologies, and in some case, reborn technology to market, and then you add in the other disruptors, you know, the COVID-19, and you have the rapid acceleration that contributes to with digitization as a whole, you've got a very hopefully positively volatile industry sector that is attracting a lot of investment and a lot of money, a lot of interest. And so the imperative for these firms, new and old, is to capitalize on the market and the technology, and being in the center of that from an application software and analytics perspective is hugely engaging and tremendously exciting for firms like Annata.
Yeah, that's great, Nick. Would you, both of you, say that in these industries, especially not just a startup, but these traditional ones that have been longstanding and have generations upon generations of experience building stuff, but then maybe their technology is outdated, what are some of the things that you've seen in where you've modernized them, and maybe that's not the right word, but where you've taken all the great capabilities between Microsoft and Annata and gone to these organizations and say, gosh, we have a better way that you can be more efficient in doing those things? What are some of the gambits of stuff that you've seen organizations have in place that helps to kind of define, if anyone's from these industries watching and going, oh my gosh, well, I have these things, maybe I should go take action, and I need to have a conversation with Brad or Nick of the Annata team? I mean, what's some of those background behind the scenes things that if someone is watching this live or maybe comes across this video, that you would say, gosh, that fits the mold of some of the challenges and some of the infrastructure that I have today where I could use help, or just at least have a conversation with someone to better understand, how can I make this more efficient? How can I be set up for success? Particularly, to your point, if you have all these automotive manufacturing, or even not automotive, people manufacturing these assets that potentially get into zero emissions, the zero emission space, because I'm sure that's going to happen, not just in vehicles, but in probably, I'm not sure, backhoes, or those, you can imagine. I think of all these things that could totally get to a point where you see you see a piece of equipment that's not necessarily gas anymore. It's all solely on electric.
Yeah, no, certainly we see it in material handling. But if you think about, it's kind of agnostic to whether it's combustion engine or zero emissions. But the challenge is once you're producing that product, is the network. How do you support your customers? How do you build that distribution channel? Are you going to go direct to fleets? But fundamentally, where we add a ton of value is helping our customers in that post sales, whether it's after sale parts and distribution and management. In particular, warranty is an area where a lot of our customers engage with us purely because of the strength of our warranty capability to manage that end cycle, whether it's from a customer in the dealership going back to the OEM and the warranty process there, back to even managing it with the vendor who supplied that part. It's an area that we add a tremendous amount of value and simplify, and if done right, improves the customer experience. If you think about it from yourself taking your Audi into the dealership, you don't want to wait days for a claim to get validated. You don't want to wait for a spare part to be there. So doing all of those things to improve the customer experience, that's really core of what we're doing.
No, that's great, Brad. I think that is the best example, because I'm sure all of us experience when you get that message in the mail saying, "Hey, there's a warranty or a what do you call it? One of those recall, a recall, service recall." And I've had this experience where you call and they go, "Well, we don't have the part," and then you're waiting months and months to get it, and you're like, "Am I still driving a safe car to go around?" Most of the time, you are. But yeah, it is that supply chain scenario that really, and it's great for that efficiencies. And it reminds me, a side note, I'm sure everyone who's been looking at what's happening in the world, what happened in the Suez Canal with that ship container being stuck in the middle, and you can't have inbound or outbound, and all the ramifications. It'll be interesting to see over time. What does that really mean in supply chain? But that's probably a really good visual example that you're talking about, Brad, is imagine if you had a system where there was a blockage in the canal that wasn't able to go back and forth, but the technology that Annata brings to the table can help to make that more efficient. Is that a safe analogy?
And you layer on the analytics that we bring, and I'm sure there's many of our customers right now who are waiting on parts that are locked in the canal to get into the distribution channels that are replanning and reforecasting using a combination of our tools and Microsoft to do that. And we've certainly seen a lot of pressure in the last 12 months with supply chains being compromised for both pandemic reasons and that's really what we help our customers do. That's our goal every day is to help our customers run their business better.
That's great. Anything else to add, Nick? And before you do, I'm just going to make a final call. But I have one last question to pose to Brad and Nick. But if you have any questions on what we've been talking about with our great global ISV Annata, both Brad and Nick, feel free to put it in the chat window or the LinkedIn comments, and we'll potentially flash that up during the conversation. So, Nick, anything else you want to add to the commentary?
Yeah, sort of an addition to what Brad said is the conversations we have with OEMs. So two things: the conversations we have with OEMs, particularly the ones bringing products to market as rapidly as they can to justify the investment multiples that they're earning. They have to put a lot of pressure on their suppliers, and the pressure is both time to market pressure, but it's also quality pressure. And so the inbuilt IP that Annata delivers on the Dynamics 365 platform is purpose-built to aid in the imperative around being able to manage every component of that supply chain, even the ones that you're not really in control of when a ship goes right instead of left in the Suez Canal. And I said the other thing, at the other end of it, from a customer perspective, we have an extensive discussion going on with a global automotive manufacturer about revamping the whole way that they interact with their customers, the folks that are booking or wanting to book test drives. And the thing is, Microsoft's doing a fabulous job of delivering the mobility apps that give those customers access to what they need when they need it, wherever they are. And that was a big point of the discussion with the manufacturer about how do we improve the way that their customers and their dealers experience the vehicles and the service that they offer.
No, thanks, Nick, for sharing that, because that is spot on. I mean, the OEMs and the dealers providing that end customer experience, I think, is such a valuable statement, because the OEM can't do it alone. The dealer can't do it alone. It has to be this end-to-end journey that they take their customer through from the life cycle of that process. So that definitely well said. So as we wrap up, Brad and Nick, I mean, what's some of the things that people can do to learn more? I'm going to flash up just a container of content that points to the various solutions that you have in our marketplace today, as well as a link to about Annata, your direct website for those of you who, again, want to learn more. But what are some of the things, Brad and Nick, that you'd want to kind of share with kind of a call to action, and how do people take a next step or learn more? If people are watching this live, or people who may come across this video after the fact and they're watching the replay of it, what are some of the things that you would say, hey, here's how you can learn more about this area if you're in this specific industry, manufacturing asset, with assets, even specifically automotive? What are some of the things that they can do to learn more?
No, certainly, you know, we touched on our medical device management, and they can always go to jivamed.com and learn about what we're doing there. But fundamentally, you know, if you're an OEM or a dealer or importer distributor who wants to learn more, reach out. We'd be happy to have a conversation about how we can help transform. We do this quite frequently. Nick and I will run visioning workshops with executives to help them understand what's possible, you know, when they're straddled with legacy systems and business pains. They sometimes just need a helping hand to see a vision for the future. And we're certainly more willing to have those conversations and help them.
Great. Nick, anything else you'd like to add to that?
I agree with Brad. I mean, we're very willing and eager to have discussions with folks that see some of their either current pain or potential pain in the discussion we've had. And we have some very informative, on both sides, discussions around how to improve process. So, you know, it's not about the technology in our perspective. It's very much about the application of world-class technology to solving problems. So yes, please, by all means, reach out in whichever way you're comfortable doing. Yeah,
sounds good, Nick and Brad. And you so well said, because technology is the enabler. It's really having those deep discussions on what you're trying to accomplish, and hopefully the Annata and Microsoft combination actually provides that end customer outcome. So with that being said, I want to thank both of you for joining us on this Monday. I hope both of you, I love the story, Brad, about how we'll see good luck in your move. when you're moving out of your next home, I'm sure there's probably a ton of honeydew projects that your spouse or your significant other are asking you to kind of go do as you move in, and that you can enjoy your import bike. And then Nick, one of the things that, of course, pre-show we didn't get a chance to comment on, but of course, so great that you have adopted dogs from rescue to kind of nurture and maintain them. But I will be rooting for, because I don't have a skin in the game for soccer, but I'll definitely be rooting for the red side. So
thank you, Brian. One fan at a time.
That's right. That's right. So everyone, thank you so much for watching this live. Again, Brad and Nick, you can directly interact with them on LinkedIn. Of course, that's another mechanism. Just because you see their profile, you could send a message or a connection request to them if you found the content interesting, or you'd like to have a conversation. As a reminder, we do this every Monday at 8 o'clock. We have another great ISV, Flint Fox, that's going to be in this dialogue next week. So at the same time. But thanks again, Brad. Thanks again, Nick. Be well, be safe. Thank you again, Annata, for the strong partnership, and look forward to future conversations.
Yeah. Thanks again, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Cheers, everybody. Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.